Hello everyone, welcome to Homeschool, and this is your sixth session on the life processes where we are dealing with a first concept called nutrition, isn't it? So, in my just previous video, we have discussed, actually, we started the nutrition in human beings, okay? And how is the nutrition proceeded in human beings? It is proceeded through a canal called alimentary canal, or it is also called digestive tract, and it is a 9-meter long canal that is present inside our body. And this alimentary canal consists which organs, like which parts of a body? Alimentary canal starts with mouth and ends with big intestine. Okay, say initially you have a mouth and later buccal cavity, esophagus, right, stomach, small intestine, big intestine. Okay, and big intestine will end with anus. Okay, so from mouth to anus is called alimentary canal. Okay, say how to draw the alimentary canal easily. We discussed in the last class where I taught you to draw in the easiest way. Okay, and today we are going to discuss the activities that takes place in each and every part of alimentary canal. Okay, first let us try to discuss about the activity that takes place with the help of mouth. Okay, so what is a mouth? I am going to talk about the work done by mouth. We take food from mouth, isn't it? So what is happening with the help of mouth? Ingestion is happening. Ingestion. What do you mean by ingestion? Intake of food. Intake of food can be done with the help of a mouth. So actually, what is a mouth? What is a mouth? Mouth is an opening. Mouth is an opening guarded by two lips. Okay, it is just an opening which is surrounded by two lips. Okay, through that opening, ingestion can occur. Ingestion is nothing but intake of food is happening. Okay, so this is all about the mouth. And coming to the next part of alimentary canal, the buccal cavity. Okay, so let us see what is happening in a buccal cavity. Okay, so what does a buccal cavity contains? Buccal cavity contains teeth, isn't it? Teeth. So what does a teeth do? Teeth will break the food material into smaller pieces. Okay, so with the help of a teeth, you can bite. Okay, you can bite the food and also you can chew the food. Chew the food. This is what happens, biting the food and chewing the food. Okay, so that what happens here? Larger food particles gets converted into smaller particles. Okay, fine. And one important thing that the buccal cavity has is, you can see here, salivary glands, isn't it? So you have one more thing in a buccal cavity along with the teeth, that is salivary gland. This is very important. Salivary gland. You know, the salivary gland actually secretes, that means it synthesizes a liquid, colorless liquid called saliva. Okay, saliva. Clear? And this saliva, second point I'm writing, saliva, you know, contains an enzyme called, remember all this, enzyme called salivary amylase. It contains what enzyme? Salivary amylase. Okay, I told you what do you mean by an enzyme. in the previous class. So what was an enzyme? Enzyme is certain chemical substances which help for a longer food particles to break it into smaller pieces, isn't it? So what does this salivary amylase enzyme will do is, okay, so I am talking about the function of salivary amylase. Okay, first thing it will do is it moistens the food. It moistens the food. I mean, it secretes a liquid so that the food will become soft. Moistening the food in the sense what? Food becomes soft. Okay, food is becoming soft here. You will take a harder food sometimes, isn't it? So this harder food will become soft with the help of a liquid called saliva. Actually, what is there in saliva? You have an enzyme called salivary amylase. Okay, so that is making the food soft. One important use of salivary amylase. Another important use is it will convert. This is very important, guys. It will convert starch into glucose. This is very, very, very important. Okay, so it is converting a starch. Whatever food we take it in the form of starch or protein or fats. If you eat rice, it contains starch. It will not contain glucose actually. It will contain starch. And when you take eggs, meat, fish, chicken, mutton, whatever, it will contain proteins. Okay. And when you take oil, ghee, it will contain fats. Starch is actually a long chemical molecule. Okay. And starch is made up of many glucose units. What do you mean by glucose? That is C6H12O6. Many C6H12O6, hundreds of C6H12O6 combines to form a long molecule called starch. And we take food in the form of starch. Starch can also be called as carbohydrates. Okay, got to know? So glucose is not present as a single molecule in the foodstuff. Many glucoses, hundreds of glucose molecules will get connected to form a long chemical molecule which we call it as a starch. So the food may contain so many starch molecule, means long chain of glucose. And what does our salivary amylase will do is it will break that starch into simple glucose. See? Starch contains many of glucose molecules connected with each other. Salivary amylase is actually breaking starch into smaller pieces so that each small piece is one glucose molecule. Got to know? So that is the duty of salivary amylase. In the sense, can you able to guess, is the digestion process happening in the mouth itself? Definitely yes. What do you mean by digestion? I told you 5 steps of nutrition. What were they? Ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, digestion. Ingestion happened from mouth. What is happening in the buccal cavity? In the buccal cavity, digestion is happening. Some amount of digestion is taking place in the buccal cavity itself. Digestion in the sense, breaking a long food molecule into simpler units. That is happening with the help of salivary amylase. You took starch, long food molecule, that is breaking up into smaller glucose molecule. That is what digestion, breaking something into smaller units is called digestion. So that is happening. So the first step of digestion started in the buccal cavity itself. So try to remember the first step of digestion occurs in buccal cavity itself. Okay, so carbohydrate digestion is happening in the buccal cavity only. That means if the food containing starch when you consume, It's half of the digestion is happening in the mouth, that is in the buccal cavity itself. Got to know? So these are the important points you have to remember about buccal cavity. Okay, so fine. And now let us see a visual how the food is actually moving from buccal cavity to the esophagus. Okay, so here all the work has been done. Starch, if you take, it has converted into glucose, and the food from buccal cavity to it should enter into a esophagus. Let us see a illusion how it can move into a esophagus.
When we take food, no, it will go into food pipe, that is esophagus. Okay, see, he is chewing the food in a buccal cavity and it is going. See here, actually there are two pipes here. One is this fatter pipe, it is actually a windpipe, and this thin pipe is there, no, this is esophagus, that is food pipe. And here there is something called pharynx, we call it as pharynx. You know, that pharynx will send food to food pipe and wind to wind pipe. Okay, now the food is going to food pipe, that is esophagus.
So now we have seen how the food is going from buccal cavity to esophagus, isn't it? So now let us learn more about the esophagus. So esophagus is a long pipe. Okay, it's a long pipe that connects buccal cavity and stomach. This connects buccal cavity and stomach. See, you can see the diagram. Where is the esophagus located? See, it is located between buccal cavity and stomach, isn't it? So nothing happens in esophagus actually. Just food moves downwards into the stomach. Okay, food is moving in what direction? It has to move in a downward direction to the stomach. That only will happen. Okay, here no digestion, nothing, no chemical reactions happen here. Just food is moving. Okay, but the movement of food is called as peristaltic movement. Okay, you have a new word here which is very, very important. Peristaltic movement. So what do you mean by peristalsis or peristaltic movement? It is a rhythmic. Listen to the definition, very important. Rhythmic relaxation and contraction of the walls of esophagus. Walls of esophagus, so that food can be pushed downwards. Okay, so such a movement is called as peristaltic movement. Okay, say imagine this is my esophagus tube and this chalk piece is a food. Okay, it has come from buccal cavity, it's coming from buccal cavity. Okay, so this food has to move through esophagus. See here how it can move through esophagus. See, if it relaxes, the muscles will go like this. Okay, and once if it has to go down, again this area should close down and here it should relax. You know, see, first initially this portion gets relaxed, food goes in the middle, again you know, downward portion is getting relaxed and upward portion is getting contraction. Okay, like that. This movement is called peristaltic movement. Okay, so rhythmic relaxation and contraction of the walls of esophagus is called peristalsis or peristaltic movement. Okay, so even on this, let us see a visual. Okay.
This is what peristaltic movement. Okay, this is how food is moving into esophagus. Okay, see here, this portion is becoming narrow. As the food is going, it is becoming expanded. Yes or no? So this contraction and expanding of food pipe, see, you can clearly observe. See, the portion is becoming, upper portion is becoming narrower and bottom portion is becoming expanded. See, here it is narrow, this portion expanded. Again, as the food goes down, this portion becomes narrow. So this contraction and relaxation only we will call it as peristaltic movement. See how nicely the food is moving in the esophagus and it will reach stomach. Okay, peristaltic movement.
So we have seen how food is moving in a esophagus. So from esophagus, food is moving towards the stomach. It reaches the stomach. Okay. And actually, what can happen in esophagus? Is anything happening in esophagus? No. Is digestion happening in esophagus? In esophagus, is our food particles are breaking down into smaller particles? No, isn't it? So remember this word, there is no digestion in esophagus. There is no digestion in esophagus. Okay, mouth, do you have a digestion? No. Buccal cavity, do you observe digestion? Yes, digestion is observed in buccal cavity. And what do you observe in mouth? Mouth, you will observe ingestion. Ingestion in the sense taking food inside. Okay, so there is a digestion in buccal cavity, no digestion in esophagus. Esophagus is the connection through which only food can move downwards in a particular pattern called peristalsis. Okay, so here peristalsis is the only thing you should remember about esophagus, nothing else. Okay, and now food will move through the esophagus in a peristaltic movement and it is reaching where? It will reach to the stomach area. Okay, now let us see what is happening in stomach area. Okay, see, stomach will expand as the food enters into it. Okay, what happens to a stomach? The first point you have to remember is stomach expands. It will expand as food enters. Food enters into it. Okay, and once the stomach expands, you know, there are certain glands in a stomach which we call it as gastric glands. Okay, so stomach contains gastric glands. Very important, gastric glands. Okay, and the moment the stomach enlarges, you know, gastric glands will become active. And they secrete, these gastric glands will secrete, okay, 3 important substances. The first one is, it will secrete an enzyme called pepsin. Okay, and the second chemical substance it will secrete is HCl, hydrochloric acid. And the third substance it will secrete is mucus. Okay, so these are the 3 substances secreted by whom? Secreted by gastric glands. Where are the gastric glands present? In stomach. Okay, when they will get activated? When the stomach enlarges. When the stomach will get enlarged? When food comes from esophagus into stomach. It's all interconnected. Okay, so every time gastric glands are not active. Whenever food is there, it becomes active. So whenever it is active, 3 compounds it will synthesize. An enzyme called pepsin. Okay, and now let us discuss about what these guys will do in a stomach with a food. Okay, fine. And when you take a carbohydrate food, we have seen in the buccal cavity itself, the carbohydrates were broken down into smaller molecules called glucose. Okay, so don't worry about carbohydrates. Come to the next variety of food that we take every day, proteins. We will take a wholesome food, isn't it? So the food we take includes some amount of carbohydrates, some amount of proteins and some amount of fats. All of them should undergo digestion inside. Carbohydrate digestion, half of the digestion is over in the buccal cavity itself. And now coming to the digestion of proteins. You know, pepsin is the enzyme which helps. You know, pepsin helps. All this you have to write it down. Very, very, very important. Okay. Pepsin helps in protein digestion. Protein digestion. Okay. Actually, what are proteins? Proteins are also long chain organic substances only. Proteins also contain a long chain. You know, the protein chain is made up of smaller particles called amino acids. Amino acids. What is starch? Glucose molecules gets connected to form a long chain called starch. Similarly, so many amino acids will get connected with each other to form a long chain, and that long chain organic chemical is called protein. Okay, now that long chain has to be broken into smaller pieces. Yes or no? So that duty is done by the the enzyme called pepsin. Okay, so what it will do? It will convert protein into amino acids. It will convert protein into amino acids, you know, which we call it as protein digestion. After all, what do you mean by a digestion? Breaking a long molecule into smaller pieces. Yes. So who is undergoing digestion? Which type of food is undergoing digestion here? Proteins are undergoing digestion. They are broken up into amino acids. Okay, fine. And coming to the next chemical substance formed by gastric gland, HCl. So what is the duty of HCl here? You know, this pepsin can work only in the acidic condition. If the pH of a stomach is neutral or above 7, you know, it will not work actually. pH of a stomach should be below 7, below 6 actually. Okay, only then pepsin will work. So how do you create that acidic environment? How do you create that favorable condition for working nature of pepsin? It is with the help of HCl. Okay, so what point we can mention here is helps to create acidic nature in stomach. Acidic nature in stomach. Why you have to create acidic nature in stomach? Because pepsin works in acidic pH. Works in acidic pH. Okay, so this is the main work of HCl here. And it can do one more duty. That is, since it is acid, it can kill certain microorganisms, harmful microorganisms that might have come along with the food. Imagine you haven't washed your food, you ate, some harmful microorganisms are there. They have entered into a stomach. To some extent, no problem. Why? Because HCl is there in a stomach and that is going to kill the harmful microorganisms. Okay, so that is another work done by HCl. So what you will write here? Can kill harmful microorganisms. Okay. Actually, saliva also can kill the microorganisms. Saliva has salivary amylase, isn't it? To some extent, salivary amylase can also kill the microorganisms in the buccal cavity itself. That is first step of killing microorganisms. If at all, if any microorganisms there, if it is missed, if it goes into a stomach, second level of killing microorganism takes place by our HCl in a stomach. Okay, so that's why you must have heard, whenever you got hurt with a finger or something, our mothers would have told to keep it in a mouth. Finger, keep it in a mouth. Okay, and when some scratch happens, we normally tend to put our saliva and rub it on it. Yes or no? Actually, these are the good things what our ancestors taught us. because saliva has that property of killing microorganisms. That's the reason we put our hand. That's the reason we wipe our wounds with saliva initially, isn't it? So saliva also has that ability. Note the point, even under saliva category also. Okay, so second level of killing microorganism can happen here. So these are the two works done by HCl in a stomach. And next, mucus. What is that mucus? Can you able to tell me what is mucus? Say when you have a cough or a cold, whatever comes out, no, that sticky yellow color stuff, that is what we call it as kapha, is called mucus. Okay, actually that mucus gets secreted in the stomach to some extent. Why? What is the role of mucus here? See here, who has come into a stomach? HCl. That HCl can sometimes spoil the lining of the stomach. You know, these are all very delicate cells. Stomach lining is made up of very much delicate cells. Okay, HCl can destroy those cells. It can disrupt those cells. To avoid that, mucus is segregated. Actually, mucus will protect the lining of the stomach. Mucus will protect the lining of the stomach from HCl. Okay. So, what is the point you will write? It will protect. It will protect the stomach lining. The stomach lining. Okay, from HCl. HCl is an acid. Definitely, it will spoil the cells, isn't it? So, stomach lining cells are very much delicate. So, if HCl destroys them, you know, slowly our stomach organ itself will undergo damage. So, to avoid the damage, you know, mucus is created. Mucus is some jelly-like, sticky, white, yellow substance. Okay, it will segregate and it will, you know, it will stick to the walls of a stomach so that HCl cannot do anything to the cells of the stomach wall. So this is what happens in a stomach. So is the digestion happening in a stomach? Definitely yes. So which portion, which type of food is undergoing digestion here? Protein part of food is undergoing digestion here. Okay, so definitely I can say digestion is happening here. Digestion can occur in stomach area. Okay, so we have seen digestion happening in buccal cavity. Next, digestion is happening in stomach. Okay, so try to remember the three important substances that a gastric gland can secrete. And what is the use of pepsin, use of HCl, as well as use of mucus. Okay, and now we will see a visual on how food is entering into esophagus to stomach, and later from stomach to small intestine area the food is going. See, stomach, the work is over and it is moving to a small intestine, and this narrow part which is there, no, this is called sphincter muscle. Okay, sphincter muscle. Remember the word. From stomach to small intestine, food will move through sphincter muscle. Sphincter muscle. This narrow part is called sphincter muscle. Okay. So now let us see what happens in a small intestine. Actually, the small intestine is again divided. This is again divided into three parts. Three parts. Okay. The first one is duodenum. Duodenum. Okay. Second one is jejunum. Jejunum. And third one is ileum. Ileum. Okay, like that we have three parts: duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Okay, and to talk about a small intestine, you know, I said our alimentary canal is of 9 meters long, isn't it? And most of the area of alimentary canal is occupied by small intestine. I mean to say, see, among the 9 meter, so much of portion of length can be occupied by small intestine only. Okay, so this is a coiled structure. If I open the coils and if I keep it in a long form, it will be of around 6 meter or 5 meter. Okay, so among the 9 meter, 6 to 5 meters is actually occupied by the small intestine itself. Clear? So this is what the longer part of alimentary canal actually. Fine. Usually, the organisms which feed on plants, okay, what do we call the organisms with? With what name we can call them? Herbivores. Okay, we have seen Holozoic animals are again divided into herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Humans are omnivores, isn't it? Herbivores are the animals which directly depend on plants. They keep eating plants. For them, actually, you will see a longer small intestine, much longer small intestine. Okay, because cellulose, the plants contain cellulose. Cellulose is very difficult to digest. To digest cellulose, you need long small intestine. Okay, and for humans and other animals, small intestine is not that much long. Okay, because we don't consume cellulose. So in carnivores and omnivores, small intestine length is little smaller, but in herbivores, small intestine is very large. Remember this point. Okay, and now coming to the parts of the small intestine, duodenum. So which is a duodenum here? This one is a duodenum. See here, this part, this much. This is a sphincter muscle, okay, from which food is moving from stomach to, it will first move to duodenum. This is what we call duodenum. Okay. And if you can observe, see, our duodenum has a connection with pancreas and it also has a connection with gallbladder. Gallbladder in turn has a connection with liver. Got to know the two connections of duodenum. One is it connected to pancreas. The other one is it is also connected to gallbladder. Gallbladder is again connected to liver actually. Okay. So let us see what can happen in that duodenum portion of small intestine. Okay. So first point you need to understand is it connects to the ducts. What do you mean by ducts? See, through these stems the duodenum has connected. Yes, this is one stem, this is one stem. Yes, so these stems are called ducts. Got to know? So duodenum connects to the ducts of pancreas and gallbladder. Okay. So actually what happens is pancreas will secrete pancreatic juice. Let us learn something about pancreas and gallbladder now. Okay. So coming to the word pancreas, it is a leaf-like structure. Okay, secretes, okay, it synthesizes pancreatic juice, okay. So pancreatic juice contains 3 substances actually, okay. So the first one is trypsin, it will contain trypsin. Second one, pancreatic amylase, okay, and third substance is pancreatic lipase, okay. So what does a trypsin do? Trypsin will help in You know, protein conversion. So what all you can write about a trypsin? Trypsin is an enzyme that converts proteins into amino acids. Okay, AA in the sense amino acid. Okay, that means in short I can say it helps in the digestion of protein. It helps in the digestion of proteins. Okay, so anything is fine. This is the work of the enzyme called trypsin. And coming to the next enzyme, pancreatic amylase. What does this pancreatic amylase will do? It is also an enzyme which helps in carbohydrate digestion, Okay, what do you mean by carbohydrate digestion? The starch is broken down into glucose. And coming to the pancreatic lipase. See, so far we discussed about starch broken down into glucose, protein digestion, that is protein broken down into amino acids. We haven't spoke anything about fats, isn't it? So on a daily basis, we take fats also through food. They should also get digested. So who is responsible for the digestion of fats? Pancreatic lipase will take that duty. Okay, so pancreatic lipase is an enzyme, okay, that helps in digestion of fats. Fats also long organic molecule only. So that long organic molecule has to be broken down, and that duty was done by pancreatic lipase. Okay, so this leaf-like structure, it will segregate, it will synthesize pancreatic juice, and that pancreatic juice contains these guys, and all these enzymes are moved into duodenum part of small intestine. Food is there. Okay, so these juices also will come into the duodenum part. In the meanwhile, our gallbladder will release bile juice that is secreted by liver. Okay, so what is the duty of bile juice here? Bile juice will help in fat digestion. Okay, it will help in the digestion of fats. Okay, so which are the two enzymes helping for the digestion of fats? One is bile juice, the other one is pancreatic lipase. Okay, so here this is a duct. This is a gallbladder. You know, liver secretes that bile juice. It will be stored in gallbladder. Balloon-like structure, whatever is there, in that balloon-like structure, bile juice will be stored. Liver will create that, but it is stored in gallbladder. From gallbladder, you have a connection, you have a duct. Yes or no? You have a stem. Through this system, it will enter into a duodenum region. So now in a duodenum, what and all you have? You have bile juice. Okay. You also have pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice again contains, these are the three substances, and bile juice which is secreted from liver. Okay, all of them will come into a duodenum region, where if a food contains undigested protein or undigested carbohydrates, they will get digested in this duodenum region. Okay, and fats also. Fats have not digested in stomach. Fats have not digested in buccal cavity also. So now fats also gets digested in this duodenum region. Okay, so small intestine's duodenum part is very important. This is where maximum digestion, complete and final digestion is happening. Okay, so what is happening in the duodenum portion? Maximum maximum digestion is seen in duodenum part of small intestine. Duodenum part of small intestine. Okay, so once every food particle, protein particle, carbohydrates of food, fatty acids, that is fats of food, everything is broken into small pieces with the help of these particular enzymes. Okay.
Food is moving into stomach. From esophagus it has come to stomach. There it is breaking down. You can clearly see this yellow color liquid is there, no, that is actually acid and various enzymes. I told you, pepsin, acid and mucus will be secreted, I said. Here there will be a gastric glands. This is the wall of a stomach. Gastric glands would be there. That gastric gland is secreting this liquid which contains HCl, pepsin and mucus. Okay, so pepsin is the one which will break protein food into smaller pieces. Yes or no? Acid will create that acidic medium. Pepsin can work only if the pH of a stomach is acidic. See, you can nicely see that how food is getting broken into small pieces. Okay, it may be a protein food, so it is breaking into smaller and smaller pieces with the help of an enzyme pepsin. See guys, now let us see food moving from stomach to duodenum of small intestine. See, this is a stomach. See, from stomach the food is coming into duodenum. This portion is called as duodenum. This C-shaped portion, whichever is there, no, this is duodenum. Actually, this is what we call sphincter muscle. Sphincter muscle. Okay, from sphincter muscle, food is coming from stomach to duodenum. You can clearly see here, duodenum has a connection with leaf-like structure called pancreas, and also it has a connection with gallbladder. This is liver. Okay, liver, gallbladder. Liver will secrete bile juice. It will be stored in gallbladder. From gallbladder, it will go to duodenum portion. Similarly, pancreatic juice also. From pancreas, it will go to duodenum portion. Food is also coming. So, there again digestion of food occurs. Yes or no? Bile juice will break fats. Yes. And then pancreatic juice also will break, it can break carbohydrates like starch, it will break proteins also, and it will break fats also. So every item of a food is broken down here. Later the food will move to duodenum to jejunum part of small intestine. Okay.
Now the food is completely digested, broken down into small particles. These digested food will go to the next part of the small intestine. Which is the next part of small intestine? Jejunum. Okay, so which is a jejunum here? This much is a duodenum, and this middle portion of the small intestine is called jejunum. Middle portion is called jejunum. Okay. Let us see what happens in a jejunum now. So what may be this jejunum? I can say jejunum is the middle part of small intestine. Middle part of small intestine. Okay. And this jejunum helps in absorption of food. Okay. So this jejunum helps in absorption of food. Food is broken down into smaller parts. Proteins have digested, carbohydrates underwent digestion, and fats underwent digestion. Now food is there in much simpler form and small molecule form. Okay, and those small molecules are absorbed by the body. Who will absorb the nutrients of the food? Jejunum of small intestine is absorbing. Okay, so helps in absorption. So here is the absorption taking place. Ingestion is over, digestion is over. Now we have come to the absorption process of nutrition. Okay, so where is absorption is taking place? Jejunum, that is middle portion of the small intestine, is doing absorption of food, that is absorption of nutrients. Okay, so helps in absorption of food. Okay, through how it will absorb? Through a finger-like projection. Finger-like projections called villi. This is very important term to be remembered, guys. Villi. Okay, see, if I see the inner weave of small intestine, that is particularly jejunum part, you know, you will have like this finger-like projections you will have. Okay, so these finger-like projections only we will call it as villi. And you know, it is also associated with blood vessels. It is also associated with blood vessels. Villi first absorbs the nutrients or the digested food, okay, and later the food will be passed to the blood vessels. Blood has to carry the food now to various parts of the cells to produce energy. So villi is connected to the blood vessels, blood pipes. Okay, and you know, it will absorb the food and it will pass that food to the blood pipes. So food will be passed through blood to all the cells of the body to produce energy. Clear, everybody? So this is what happening in the jejunum area of small intestine. Second point I'll write here. This villi passes the food to blood vessels. Okay, that is blood pipes. So the nutrients are carried away with blood to all over the body to produce energy. So we can see this very clearly with the help of a visual nerve.
This is a villi of jejunum which can absorb food, and it will also pass to the blood vessels. See these things, see this hair-like strings, yes or no? These are called villi. This is how the inner lining of jejunum looks like. This is what villi, this pink color one. Okay, and you see now that food particle will come, it will be absorbed by villi. See, food particle it is. Okay, the broken food particle is absorbed, it is going into the villi. From villi, the food particles are going into blood pipes. This is a blood vessel or blood pipes, guys. Okay, see the blood is moving. Okay, see the villi, through the villi the food particles, small particles, see how they are moving into blood pipe, and this blood will carry this food to each and every cell. See that green color particles are food. This is a food. See, it is going through the villi. Villi is taking it actually. So these green color food particles, see how nicely it is moving into blood pipes or blood vessels. See, along with the blood it is circulating to every part of a cell. So in a cell, energy will be produced from this small food particles. Okay, that we will discuss under respiration. See, you can watch once again here. The bigger food particle, it is broken down, right? And you know, it's going, villi is taking this actually, and these particles from the villi it is going into blood pipe. See, these blood pipes are connected to villi of jejunum. So this is the illusion of inner lining of jejunum, which is absorbing food and also passing it to blood vessels. Okay,
coming to the last part of the small intestine, ileum. Okay, see, ileum is the last final portion of the small intestine. Ileum is the one which is connected to a large intestine. Okay, so ileum is the final portion of small intestine. that connects to large intestine. Okay, and now in the jejunum portion, all the digested food got absorbed, yes or no, by the walls of jejunum with the help of villi, finger-like projection. And the digested food has gone away with blood also. Villi is connected to blood pipes, so it has gone away with blood. Now what is remaining? Undigested food. Waste material from food is remaining. So that waste material from the food is carried away by ileum to large intestine. Okay, so what is the use of ileum here? Carries undigested food, to large intestine, okay. And now coming to a last part of our digestive tract, that is large intestine. So what is the duty of large intestine? Okay, actually large intestine consists two parts. Okay, it will contain colon, the other one is rectum. Okay, what is colon? That U-shaped tube. U-shaped tube is called colon. This one. This is U-shaped, no? This is in the form of a letter U, right? So this is what we call colon. So what does a colon do? It will absorb the water content which is there in the undigested food. Okay, to some extent, water is necessary for every organ here. Okay, so water part, little of water gets absorbed by the colon. Okay, so what happens here? Water absorption takes place to a smaller extent, not to a bigger extent. Water absorption takes place here. Okay, and our undigested food will move from colon to rectum. This is called rectum. Okay, and rectum has a small hole called anus. Okay, through the anus undigested food will come outside. Okay, so what I can write? Undigested food comes out through anus. That's it. Okay, it will come in the form of a solid. So that's all about the duty of large intestine. And remember, urination is not happening here. Okay, urination will never happen through anus. Don't think that digestion means urination also. No, urination comes under excretion part. Excretion is different. Okay, digestion in the sense shitting. Okay, that means the solid waste material will come out through anus. This is the outcome of digestion. Okay, passing urine is the outcome of excretion. Okay, that's different. So this point of difference has to be noted here. Okay, so this is what we call egestion. So what is happening with the help of large intestine? What is happening here? Egestion is happening. Egestion has happened here. Got to know? So that's all about nutrition in human beings. And let us try to summarize once again. Okay, just we will clarify what happened in what stage, what chemical substances have used for what process. One small summary flow chart I will give you so that you can easily remember it. Okay, so now let us try to summarize the whole thing in the form of a flow chart to remember in a better way. Okay, so first food is there, that is entering to mouth. Yes or no? So mouth to, it is going to buccal cavity, and lot of action is going on in buccal cavity. Yes or no? Here the very important thing you have to remember is about saliva, okay, which contains an enzyme called salivary amylase. Okay, so what is salivary amylase is doing? It is converting actually starch into glucose. So is the digestion happening here? Definitely, digestion is happening here. Okay, very important point. And after that, from buccal cavity to food is going to esophagus. Okay, a long pipe that connects buccal cavity to the stomach. So here nothing is happening, no digestion, no change in the food. Food is just moving downwards. So here you have to remember a word called peristalsis. Okay, rhythmic contraction and relaxation, so that food is moving downwards. Okay, from esophagus the food is actually moving to stomach. Okay, so here also lot of action is going on. So here what you have? Gastric glands. You have gastric glands, isn't it? And it is segregating three things. One is what? Pepsin. Other one is HCl. The third one is mucus. So each and every one's importance you should understand. What is pepsin doing here? It is converting protein into amino acids. That is, digestion of protein is happening here. Why do HCl is required? Pepsin to work in a better way, HCl is needed, because pepsin can work only in acidic pH. Okay, to create that environment, HCl. And why the mucus? To protect the stomach lining from HCl, mucus is generated. Okay, so from stomach, through which muscle? Sphincter muscle. Okay, the food is moving to small intestine. Okay, actually small intestine has three parts. Duodenum region. Okay, it is moving to duodenum region. Duodenum region, maximum digestion is happening. Is the digestion happening in stomach area? Definitely. Here also digestion is happening. Okay, so in the duodenum region, what you will have? You will have pancreatic juice. Okay, and you will also have bile juice. Who secretes bile juice? Liver. Where it is stored? Gallbladder. Okay, so pancreatic juice is secreted by whom? Pancreas, leaf-like structure. Okay, so what does the pancreatic juice contains? Trypsin, amylase, pancreatic amylase, and lipase, pancreatic lipase. Okay, what does the trypsin do? Protein digestion. Okay, amylase enzyme, what will it do? Starch digestion, that is carbohydrate digestion. Lipase will do fat digestion. What is the work of bile juice? Bile juice also will help in fat digestion. Okay, so these are the enzymes you have to remember. These enzymes will come to a duodenum region. Food also is coming there. Whatever undigested protein, carbohydrate and fat is there, they will get digested here. And from duodenum to, it's all happening in small intestine only. From duodenum to, food will come to jejunum. Okay, so what is happening in jejunum? Absorption of food is happening. Absorption of food is happening. Okay, with the help of whom? With the help of villi. Okay, very important. What is villi? Inner lining of jejunum has finger-like projections called villi. Okay, so villi actually absorbs the food. Clear, everybody? And you know, because of the villi, more and more food gets absorbed. Villi increases the surface area of the absorption. Villi increases the surface area of the absorption. Villi provides more area for the absorption. That is the meaning. Okay, what I can write? Increases the surface area of the absorption. Surface area of absorption. Okay, in the sense, see for example, if a structure is like this, how much food it can absorb? And if the structure is like this, which structure can absorb more, food? This or this? Here you see food, just like this. Food can move on a structure like this. Only this much of food can be absorbed by the substance. But here, how does the food can move? Like this, no? That means much of the food will get absorbed. This is the use of villi, guys. This is the reason why jejunum region is there in the form of villi. Okay, because to provide more space for the absorption of food. Okay, so that more food can be absorbed, more digested food can be absorbed. So that is the meaning of increasing surface area. Okay, increases surface area of absorption. Okay, and from jejunum the food is moving to ileum. Okay, ileum is just a passage. It is just a passage to large intestine. Okay, and from ileum to the food is moving to large intestine. Okay, so large intestine has two parts. One is this U-shaped tube, which we call it as colon. Okay, and what happens in a colon? Absorption of water takes place. Absorption of water occurs. Okay, from colon to rectum, food will move towards rectum. Okay, so from rectum to anus, food will come out through an opening called anus. So this is the outline of nutrition in human beings. Okay, so each and every step you need to remember, and the importance of various enzymes is also important. Say, what does the HCl do? What is the mucus doing? What is the duty of trypsin, amylase, lipase, bile juice? This is what you have to learn and remember. Revise carefully. With this, I will end the first concept of the chapter, nutrition. So in my next video, let us start with a concept called respiration. Okay. Till then, take care. Keep revising it. If you like our video, please like, share and subscribe our channel for more updates. Thank you.